This is the 7th video in my series about consensual incest. This explains how people who are consanguinamorous are able to overcome the unnecessary shame and guilt that society forces onto them. It is a huge problem for many people within these beautiful relationships, that the fear of persecution, and the sense of doing something wrong can rob them of their own sense of self-worth and happiness. I've already had much to say about the unfairness and injustice within the current anti-incest laws, yet just stating that these laws are an injustice doesn't tend to help people all that much. That's because people feel that if something wasn't wrong then it wouldn't be legal. Where does this sense of wrongness come from? It comes from society. Why does society think that incest is wrong? Because they are ignorant about the subject and have listened to other equally ignorant sources repeating the mantra that it is sick, wrong and disgusting. To a greater or lesser degree, all people absorb some or most of the norms of society, for better or worse. Some of these norms are good and allow us to live our lives safely, norms such as you must wait in the queue at the checkout and norms like you must not steal other people's property are good and useful guidelines for people on how to behave and respect the rights of other people. Such rules, legal or informal, are a social code for human beings that help us to live in a functioning society. Of course, sometimes the norms of society can be misguided and wrong. The anti-incest legislation is an example of that. It is based on misinformation and ignorance, and a lot of repetition. Once we understand these sources of these norms, we understand why people react to us in the way that we do, and our only hope of changing the norm is by education and reason. Furthermore, just by understanding that the masses can be wrong sometimes, we free ourselves a little from the mentality of blind compliance to one of analysis, and the construction of one's own sense of morality based on whether an action hurts others or not. Any action hurting other people is immoral, anything which does not cause harm is by definition a perfectly moral action. In this way, we see that incest is morally okay. A fact that would shock the majority of people. By understanding that we are not committing some dreadful immoral act, we can stop thinking of ourselves as dirty or perverted. We are normal, and we are beautiful, every bit as much as any other group of people. Our love is real, our love is true. No outsiders can tell us otherwise, they imagine. But we know. We should not change our self-identity as consanguinamorous people just to suit the majority. To do so would be to kill off our own contribution to the natural diversity of human relationships, and if there is one thing our world needs, it is more diversity of thought and being. Simply by being what you are, especially if you use the internet to communicate that, you are contributing to the global diversity that gets people's brains actually thinking instead of reacting. In this way we can be proud of our identity, we can stand tall, and know with every fiber of our being that we are consanguinamorous and there is nothing wrong with that. Our double love is perfect and nothing can break our knowledge of that, because it is a part of who we are as people. There is also one more thing I would like to share with you, and that is that the anti-incest laws are actually against international law. According to international law, all people have the right to family life. Family life is people's family members and spouses. I think we pretty much cover both these criteria. If we were allowed to marry our relatives then they would also be spouses. International law also states that governments and companies should not discriminate on people based on their sexual orientation. Well, for many of us it is a sexual orientation, for which we are discriminated against. Which also makes the anti-incest laws illegal. International law guarantees the protection of hated minority groups from harassment and persecution. I believe we qualify for that too. And yet it is so often the state that does the harassing and the persecuting. The more you look into it, the more you realize that legalizing consanguinamory and giving our people their full rights, and not forcing them to feel shame and guilt where none should exist, is the right thing to do, and in fact is the only thing to do. For more information, visit www.consanguinamory.wordpress.com and read the articles. Also visit the other websites I linked in the useful links section.